Well, hello everybody. This is Fanboytone, of course, on another side of the table here. But this is another episode, finally, of A World According to Tone. Even though the intro clearly says "Let's set the tone," we'll eventually get some content, hopefully, to adapt that a little bit more. But if you've checked out my first World According to Tone video, which is me doing an unboxing of the Mondo McCready figure from John Carpenter's The Thing, there was some kinks to work out, and I've worked out some of those kinks. There's still more coming, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a moment. But basically, once again, as a recap with the World According to Tone, it's going to be a mix of many things, more hobbyist things, instead of conversation all the time, and there might be once in a while as well too. It's going to be me doing activities, stuff on the tabletop, whether it's even getting Panic over here for a board game, or getting Wentzilla, or somebody over here to paint with me, or whatever it is, and talk about those sort of things as well too. So that's what I'm going to do today. But before I jump too deep into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to Rad Toys Galaxy. I was fortunate enough to meet him recently for Wentzilla's wedding, and he recently had me on his show. They're doing holiday themed stuff as well too, and I got to meet a bunch of people that are part of their little community that they got there too. Listen, I honestly, I want to do this because I've loved painting and doing the minis and stuff like this, and then I want to start here and get into the big action figure stuff eventually. I'm gonna put Rad Toys link here when this video's done as well too, and Wentzilla as well. These guys are doing some crazy work out there. Their art that they're doing is incredible. The world building they're doing is amazing. I really got a chance to understand and step into that recently, and it is absolutely bonkers, the work these guys are doing. So it's inspirational for me, as somebody who's been wanting to do this for a few years and get into it, to know some of these folks that are just amazing at their craft. So make sure, please, to check them out and give them some love as well too. So shout out to that entire crew that's doing what they're doing, Dead Man as well too. So really appreciate you guys letting me be involved, and that was pretty awesome. Like I said, again, inspiring. So but for me, what I'm going to do here is, before I jump into the big stuff that they're doing, I figured I would get into painting minis first to kind of give me another refresher into that world. A couple years back, me and Cappadocian were doing a lot of 3D printing and painting minis. I love painting minis. I've been doing it on and off since I was a kid, really. It's very therapeutic and enjoyable, and as somebody who grew up drawing and different art stuff and painting and some as well too, to get into the part of my life where I have some sort of creative outlet that's very therapeutic and relaxing, but also just being able to showcase that it's some to the world as well too. It's a whole mix of things I'm excited about. So but I could keep talking forever, and you know me as I do. So we're going to start off here today painting a larger mini, something a little bit more simple as well too. That way, again, as I want to continue to grow into doing these sort of things, this will be a good palette to start with as well too, something a little bit bigger. So what I'm gonna do is I'll switch over the camera as well. So one of the things that I had to tweak from last time was the ceiling camera. We brought it down another, I want to say another foot or so, foot and a half, so it's much closer. So we're gonna switch over to that, and you can kind of see. So now, one of the things initially you'll see all the shadows. I have ordered a light, and I can't even believe I didn't think about this sooner, but I should have ordered this light much sooner. So I've got a bendable ring light coming here sometime midweek. So this first one's gonna be a little bit darker, but at the very least I can pull up, and I'm still getting my directions right. Here we go. So it's a bat-like scorpion thing. The reason I think this is going to be a good one to start out with is because it's got some membrane here, which I think will be fun to kind of paint as well too. And of course, with the scorpion tail, it's got some big tusks as well. But again, it's a large figure, so it's something that I can just kind of start out with. So what I'm gonna do first here is put a actual coat on it as well too. So do like a black wash here. So that's where I'm gonna start out with as well too. I got my wet palette here. I'm gonna put some black in here, and we're gonna start there. as well. It's probably more than I need on that, but that's perfectly fine. Now, I did realize as I was opening my brushes for the first time as well too, that I definitely need to get a more finer point. I'm a big fan of fine point brushing. A lot of times folks use some of the stuff here that you know, for the big stuff, use the big brushes like from what I'm about to do, which is great and fine. But for me, I personally like to use the fine tip brush for everything, and there's some good stuff in here, you know, that as far as the brushes, but a lot of them are much bigger than I normally use, so I'm going to have to get a smaller one, even though there is some kind of tiny ones. But so we're gonna do this. This is not going to take long. I think the biggest part of this will be the actual drying portion of it, but I'm going to put it in front of a fan. I'm going to use some of that awesome cinematography, what is it? I'm going to use some of that cinematography fast forwarding. I don't know, what do you call that? So I'll speed through that so you don't have to watch here and sit with me and watch paint dry as it would be. So but one of the things that blows my mind as somebody who's been collecting like the Black Series figures for so long, matter of fact, is that while some of the sculpts do look good, there's also a lot about them that I'm just like, man, you're paying this much, like they could look better. And I think that's why, and I could be wrong on this, and you know, why people started, you know, kind of getting into this sort of thing is, you know, that looks good, I could do better, or, you know, really the custom part of it's really neat anyways. And that's kind of what, you know, for me, like I want to be able to, it's weird because I look at these figures, I want to, some of these I'm like, I want to make something new out of that, you know. Again, you know, people I've been watching for years been doing this, and it's just inspiring to see, because like, you know, Wenzilla, for instance, you know, comes up with these crazy creations of just like, holy shit, like that's next level kind of thinking, right? But for me, I also look at these figures, and like if you take like a Captain America figure, for instance, and it's just like, man, that could look 3 times better. I could make that look better, right? You know, so it's just one of those things where like for me, it's not always about like doing something like unique with it. It's sometimes, to me, it's also just about making it look better, right? Like sometimes I just feel like dude, like you got all this, you're doing this awesome thing, and it's just like, dude, can you do more? Like make it look even better. And so sometimes some of these figures, I got like a Spider-Man figure, for instance, like I think it's Superior Spider-Man. I'm just like, I just want to make it look even better. Like Hasbro, come on, you know. And I mean, that's a slippery slope with me talking about Hasbro as somebody who buys and has in the past, you know, a lot of the Black Series figures, and wanting to kind of get out of it. You know, I still pick up a few here or there if it's specific like characters, or like a specific piece of Star Wars, like if it's Old Republic, like Revan stuff, like I'm good chance like I'll probably pick the characters up, or like Shadows of the Empire. I mean, they're doing some of that too right now, but even then that's kind of hit or miss. There's been a few that I really kind of wanted, but I just don't want to pull the trigger on it, so I've dialed back a lot, because, you know, again, I as far as collecting and showcasing in my basement down here, for me it's been more about you know, the Hot Toys or whatever it is, you know, like the bigger figures. That's kind of what I kind of want to roll with now overall. So as far as the Black Series themselves, just meh, whatever. So all right, I think this thing has genitals. That looks like a peepee down there. That would be fun. Maybe one of the fun things here that we'll be able to do this figure is actually paint a peepee on it. So, and just like that, this is mostly dry. Now I did, as I've painted it, now I can definitely see that there's some of the pieces from the 3D printing that didn't get broke off. I was trying to remove them with my nails, but it would require a little bit more. So I'm gonna somehow incorporate that into this. We'll see if I can. If not, like I said, it's not really the end of the world. This is more about practice than it is anything. So let's see here. We've got that done. Now it's time to start working with what I want to do with this. Now, I did select some paints right away as well too that I definitely want to use for this. I got some ideas, you know, since it's kind of bat-like, scorpion-like. I went with a lot of you know, basic colors, browns. You know, I think I'll probably incorporate green at some point as well too. I didn't grab any green quite yet, because I'm deciding like how that I want that to look. Probably a little bit darker. So we'll kind of check and see how that goes, because I know scorpions end up being black, but like when I think scorpion, I also think of you know, Scorpion from Spider-Man comics as well too. So, but either way. All right, so okay, well, let's start. I'm gonna guess we're gonna start with a brown here. I'm gonna go with a dark brown because it's kind of fur on it as well too. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of keep with the traditional colors of, you know, what it looks like when it comes to you know, bat-esque as well. I think, like I said, the fun part is going to be messing with the membrane and trying to kind of come up with that to have like, I don't know if like a veiny, but like a, you know, purpley, kind of almost that different thinness that membranes show. So, all right, a little bit of brown there. This might even require a little bit more of the darker with that as well too. I think I'm going to start out with doing a little bit of a bigger brush here with this one. Let's see. All right. So we're gonna roll a lot. It's pretty light brown. I might want that a little bit darker, but we'll see once I get it on there how that plays out. Now, things got spikes on it as well too, which I'm not worried if I cover right now, because I'll do that, you know, some form of color later. Seems like the black's not fully dry as well too, which actually is not a terrible thing because I kind of wanted it a little bit darker, so that's fine. We'll do touch-ups and do touch-ups differently as well too. I got to make sure I'm thinking about this damn microphone as well too. See, one of the things that happens when I paint is I get what I call gorp face, which is me just kind of like slack jawing, and I get really focused and I won't really realize that I should be talking or paying attention to anything else in the world. Like I said, this is like therapy for me when I'm painting, so it definitely is. It's super relaxing. And I feel like for me, and again, I'm not any expert, I'm just an enthusiast, like, you know, when you're first putting your paint on, you're just trying to get some coats on there, right? So, you can always touch up and change stuff later when it comes to any mistakes or something that's not working out the way you want it to be, I feel like. So, definitely kind of keep that in mind as well, too. Not that I should be the person really giving tips, but that's just kind of the way I've looked at it. I mean, we got guys out there that I know personally as well too that do mini painting that, Jesus, like, you know, it's a different world, I feel like, as well too, especially if you're talking like doing Warhammer and stuff like that. Like, you know, some of that like Warhammer specific paint actually gets really, really pricey. It's really expensive. So I mean, but it's supposed to be, you know, top of the line or whatever, so I get it. But I think the black seems pretty dry. It might just be my eyes seeing it differently. Because if you do the fur brown, like, the question is, like, what am I going to do for, you know, the rest, like the arms? Like, the membrane's definitely going to be, like, you know, maybe something kind of like more fleshy, like a brown fleshy, if that makes sense. The fur here is definitely I almost feel like I might need a bigger brush for this even too, as well. But I definitely like to, one of the things for me when I'm doing this is adding pizzazz to colors. So like when I use like let's say if I'm using a dark brown, before I'm done with it, I might go back through the brown, but with like a lighter version of the same brown, like use the same brown, but just like whiten it up a little bit. So it almost gives it more depth and like lights hitting it. Something I think about a lot. All right, there's some good coating right there too. So you can see already, got some of the brown in there as well. Gonna come along. Getting to, I'm looking at, of course, the computer here and seeing where I'm at when I'm using the cameras. Funny, because still can't seem to get my directions, like mix them up backwards purposely. All right. All right, the brown is the darker brown is pretty much dry for now. I'm just gonna go with that as a first coat. So I'm gonna start working on the arms, and I think I'm gonna do like a light coat and then maybe touch in some darker browns for like shadowing at some point down the road, because I think this will help also kind of with the membrane. So I'm gonna do the rest of it this kind of like fleshy light brown. We'll start there, and then we'll see what that looks like after a while as well too. Now where the fur meets the skin, you know, I'm not gonna again right now to worry about you know, what that looks like connecting to each other. Again, you know, start with this, and we'll kind of take it from there. Get that first coat on. I mean, I'm trying to be a little cognitive of it because it'll make it easier down the road. But you know, again, I got some really neat ideas kind of for that membrane to give it some color and depth as well too with the wings here. But this light brown's pretty close to being like a kind of a fleshy as well too, so I think that kind of works out well. And I bought all my paints through like Michael's. I know it's not like the best and it's really cheap. I just want to start somewhere because I'm like, I don't really know like how, like where to spend, what to do. Like, I don't want to go crazy right away. You can get a lot of colors for a fair price. Michael's runs a lot of damn sales, so you know it's cheap, and maybe it requires me to do a little bit extra because of it, whether painting or whatever, you know, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. So I'd rather spend the extra money on things like, you know, stream setups and stuff like that. Like the paint, I'm not so worried about right now. I'd say that now, but you know, somebody's gonna yell at me probably and say, "Why are you using Michael's paint? Michael's acrylic paint." Get a nice coat on that membrane. There we go. It is drying fairly fast. Pretty sweet. I think I went into the dark brown up there too. Shit. That's fine. So we can patch that stuff later. Alright. Getting the underbelly here. Again. I don't know if this thing's got an erection, but it certainly couldn't looks like it, so. See the progress. Almost looks like, you know, the flesh, the color almost looks lion-esque, I suppose, in some ways. There's definitely some features that look like that's a lion. What I'll do at some point is try to take some like photos too once we're done, so it's better of a close-up, I guess. It's funny now that I've got the light brown on. It's just it's really, this thing's got a wiener, and it's very funny to me that, of course, the first thing I decide to paint has genitalia right there for everybody to see. All right, we're pretty close to being done with this. I don't want the tail to be the same color. I feel like that's going to be more fun to do, like, you know, not a fleshy tone. Like, again, in my head canon, I think like Scorpion having like that green tail, and I'm not saying necessarily it's got to be green, though that might look kind of cool. We'll have to kind of play around with it and see, and kind of think about that a little bit more. Definitely think having a light will help a lot, though, too, for on-site, what y'all can see, and me as well, too. Yeah, a little darker brown at some point, some different stuff with this membrane. I think it's gonna make it look pretty sweet. You kind of see the distinctiveness and like some of the muscles and stuff as you get this flesh color on there. Yeah, see, I think that tail could look cool with a different kind of color, but like kind of like blend in, like, you know, like some of the light brown. So what I'll probably do is whatever color I decide, like kind of mix it at the beginning so it doesn't just turn, like, because I don't like when like colors sometimes just, unless it needs to be like be distinctively separate. If it's something like a creature, like I feel like it looks cooler if it kind of blends with each other, you know. I guess it makes more sense in my head on that. All right, so we'll let it dry for a moment. I'm gonna set it there. Now, definitely with the black, as I'm watching it dry, because it is so dark, it's making it so I feel like I do have to, maybe I'm not letting it dry fast enough, but like cover up a lot, if that makes sense, because it is so dark. And that's fine. Maybe there's a better method. You know, again, I'm just a new guy here, so I'm trying to glob as much as I can, kind of continue the process, at least while I'm rolling. Now, I do got a couple of friends who also do mini painting as well, and of course everybody that does the action figures, but you know, maybe there's better methods or pro tips I can get from them as I continue this as well too, which will, again, always be the goal, you know. All right, pretty close, I think, to being done with this brown. Just trying to find any spots that come through a little bit with that blackness. But we're pretty much there, I feel like. Definitely features of a lion, though. The colors especially. How long is it going to take for me to mess up with this white desktop cover here? That's the real question, I think. How long before there's paint all over it? Not that it matters. That's what it's meant for. Just trying to go around and find out where I can cover up more of the darker base color. I'm ready to kind of get back to that dark brown maybe, or I don't want to mess with the tail. The tail is such a good spot right now for me to hold. Like, I don't want to kind of mess with that so much yet. This thing's actually got pretty intricate mouth too as I've looked at it closer. Like fangs and a tongue. So that'll be kind of fun to mess with as well too. I still don't really see eyes on this. Well, I guess the kind of nose is kind of like fleshy can be, yeah. So maybe it's like a mole or something, like, you know, doesn't really have those. Alright. Maybe I get kind of close in here. That mouth. That mouth doing? Let's see, having this big old fucking paintbrush. God damn it. Maybe the tusk's a little bit of color here as well too. Probably be better to have it a little bit lighter since I'm going to put like a bone or a fleshy or a white or so. I think I'm going to do white for like the fangs and stuff like that, like more traditional. I might do something different, we'll see. Or maybe a yellowy. It'd be kind of cool. Or white with some yellow accent and maybe some blood on it too. Yeah, what's up? But I'll use a finer tip to kind of get back in there as well too. See? You can see the wiener. Look at that. That is genitalia. Of course I would. The first thing I select to paint. Of course I would. Alright. Let me just touch up a little bit more in spots with this light brown. And then we're going to move on to either going back over with the dark brown or, you know, start fooling around with different color and stuff. Probably going to go to dark brown because that's going to mess with me a little bit. And I'm probably going to use this one again to kind of coat it again. Like the bigger brush here. All right. Let's get back to that dark brown because it's ready for another coat. All right, we're pretty much closely done to the second coat. I'm being very careful as I get right around some of these edges, you know. I do like that there's still some of the base there too with that black to kind of like, it does give it depths in some areas, I think. So sometimes I think you got to play with that smartly, or maybe just from my eyes, that's what it looks like. God, yeah, I need a light. I can't wait for that light should be here in a couple days, so found a perfect one for what I'll need. But it's already driving me nuts because when we painted before, we always had a light as well too, and I can't believe I didn't even think of it. Talked about one up there for the ceiling, but I think one here that will bend around will be a lot smarter, so I'm gonna give it a blowjob again. Dark brown is though, at least I feel like. Okay, let's switch gears here. I think I wanna. Trying to think. You know that there's some touch-ups that need to be done on the bottom, but I want to get some shadowing kind of going here with the I want to see what the brown looks like mixed in there. Maybe a little black with that brown. We'll see here. Let's play around for some shadowing. Oh, I shouldn't probably use this though. I think I should be done with this big brush until I'm ready for, yeah, I should, until I'm ready for the tail and whatever decide with that. So I'm gonna switch gears and then get this sweet fine tipped one out. As fine as I got at the very least. And I'm gonna kind of like, again, bring some black and brown into this, a little darker. Come on there, buddy. Yeah, there you go. A little bit of water in there. See what we can come up with here. A little more brown. Gonna make it a little bit darker here, so. All right, we'll see how this looks. Just kind of lightly over some areas to kind of give it that, kind of like almost outline some of the muscles, because this thing's actually got some fucking muscles on it. And then I like to just kind of blend with my finger a little bit, so it doesn't look just like a line typically either. Might be a little too much in some spots. You can kind of see what I'm going with. Might be a little too much. So I'll have to just kind of play around with that a little bit. I don't know if you can see that on the arms, like some of the dark on the back of the leg. Kind of like trying to trace some of the muscle. I typically just kind of, like I said, I kind of rub it in or try to. Too much there, I think. Some of this I can just kind of touch back up as well too, because I don't want it to be like too overbearing. I just like the shadowing, kind of like highlighting kind of some of the muscles like lightly. So it kind of gives it a little bit more depth. I don't know if that's something that people do or don't recommend. It's just kind of something that I've always kind of done with my minis. But I'm gonna do more with those membranes. I kind of want more of like a, kind of want the membranes to have more like this purplish, like pinkish look to it as well. And I just kind of go back in with some lighter as well too, to kind of, you know, so it's not too overbearing with the darker. I think there's some spots where I gotta kind of go back over with some light, with that light brown a little bit. But if you can see, like, that's, I'm just trying to go for some depth on the whole thing, like I keep saying. Oops, get the camera right there. Get that depth in there, and you can see the dark browns, you know, especially under. You know, there's not a lot of light that would come to something like that. So. A little too much on his peepee, I can tell you that. Whoops. That's funny. Alright, I'm gonna get some light, more light in there as well too, because I feel like I'm gonna do some touch. Gosh, I can't get that down quite yet when it comes to how much paint I should be using. Have a little water in there. Alright. I'll kind of reinsert some of the colors. A little bit of blotchiness. Okay. Now I'm going to put since I've got this out, I'm going to go through some streaks, some light tapping, if you will, through the hair. Kind of like give the hair some highlights and then kind of, you know, again, rub through a little bit. And if I don't like the lightness, I can always do like a, you know, maybe a darker or something as well too, to give it more. So it's all about, for me, it's about giving depth to things. That's what I think of. Yeah, it might be a little too light, but I think sometimes a drier acrylic, like let it kind of be drier, I suppose, is better for me. Mixing the different browns, like the light brown, the dark browns, kind of keep like mixing and going over, so it's like, I don't know, like almost feathered in, I suppose. You know, as it dries up, I feel like it really does kind of like allow more ability for that to look a little bit more natural. So I don't know if you can kind of see in the fur a little bit of the lightness that I've got going on there with some mixes of the brown. Oops, burning cameras. Then below you can kind of see as well too, you know, some of the shadowing and shading in there as well. You know, and so I still want to add like almost like a purpley to the membrane. Whether or not it looks good, I don't know, but we'll see, right? But I do kind of like this fur. It's looking pretty snazzy. Back over with more of the dry. It definitely feels like it's giving it some more, you know, depth. Different browns. All right. Okay. Whether it looks good or not, I suppose, is subjective in my head. Certainly kind of does. Could go over with some of the light again. And then I'll probably do a little bit more brown again. We're gonna, if you don't think I'm not gonna highlight this wiener, you're in for some disappointment, because I'm definitely gonna make this a thing. Okay. Well, that's a good start with that right there. I like that. Now it's time to kind of consider what I want to go with next. You know, I'll leave still some of the fine touch-ups. I don't know. I'm not gonna mess. So I don't think still with the tail yet. I want to consider still what I want to do with that. I want that to be a little bit different from it, because I feel like it's such a unique creature as is that it needs to kind of really set itself apart. But I don't also, like I said, want to make it so it's just like two different things and whatnot. So all right, well, that is probably where I'm going to pause for now and consider some other venues or avenues what I want to do with this. then go from there. So all right, so that is going to do at least the part 1 step here of this figure that we have no idea what it is. Manticore's, I guess, kind of almost chimera-esque, but it doesn't have all the other heads and pieces. But as far as like the base colors outside of the tail, I think we got a good start here. I am definitely going to think of some unique things with some of the membrane. Like I said, I think a little bit of like light purple to turn that fleshy a little bit more fleshy, at least with the membrane. And then to kind of start figuring out what I want to do with the spikes and different stuff, which will probably be more on the last portion of that as well too, because I think those are going to need a little bit of a fine-tuning attention. But you know, and still, if the bottom side of it, I'm not sure I'm 100% with some of the shading yet. I feel like I got to kind of clean that up a little bit as well too. You know, but that's there we go. That's part 1. So hopefully you get a good look at that. I do like how the fur turned out. I think the fur turned out really good. Let's see if I can kind of get it up there a little bit more. But all right, well, that is gonna do it for, like I said, this this portion of this figure for part 1. Appreciate you checking it out. If you're out there and you do this, I'm always looking for tips, anything like that. Like I said, this is more enthusiast stuff for sure, and always will be. But everybody knows something or has experience with things, so I'll definitely listen to, you know, whoever it is. Fortunately, I also, you know a few people that do this as well too, but it's always about shared experiences too. Like I've seen, as I'm looking at it too, like some of the areas of the shading almost a little bit I was trying to cover that base up and it almost kind of reminds me too much of that. So whatever. But either way, thank you for checking this out for part 1 of we're gonna call it Bat, Scorpion, Lion. I'll come up with some cool name for that other than that, hopefully. Or maybe I'll just keep it that because it's funny as well too. And then just be on the lookout for part 2 of this as well too. I don't want to sit here and have a 3-hour me painting something. I figured it'd be easier to kind of do it in pieces. So but thank you for checking out this this episode of World According to Tone. I appreciate it. More to come as well too, as we continue to decide how we're gonna add different content. I think painting for a while is going to be one of the big things that I'm going to focus on for sure. So as far as Banter and Babble content right now, we're still kind of just taking a hiatus for the holidays. Dude's really busy. He's been putting out some game content, which is cool, so make sure to check Banter and Babble just generally when it comes to the YouTube channel here as well. We got some other things we're working on. After the first of the year, we're going to kind of announce like how we're going to move forward with different content and what we're going to do. Clearly with me, Let's Set the Tone and A World According to Tone will be a lot of focus for us as well too. And then he's got some other things that he's kind of working on. And then, once in a while, we'll still do the Banter and Babble proper, podcast as well too. So, but again, appreciate it. If you get a chance and you see this, give me some comments, give some likes, feedback or whatever, and share it if you can as well too. Make sure every Monday at 7 p.m. to check out 7 Dungeons. They're doing the D&D as always. Great storytelling. It's really quite incredible to see where they started, even with this campaign too, to where they're at as well. And he's added a lot of great environment stuff in there. Draston's always spinning yarn as he can there. So and then of course Half-Assed Beer Review. Now right now it's a busy time for him as far as work out there, so he doesn't have a lot of content out right now, but take the time to go back and check out some of their stuff that we've done recently, whether it's the Third Eye Brew interview or going to Sonder and hanging out with our new friends from the Truth Beer Pod there. So that's pretty fun. They do a lot of stuff too. Make sure to check them out. Really appreciate them giving us a little bit of love too. So make sure to check those folks out. They're awesome as well. That's the Truth Beer Podsequences. I'll make sure to have some links out there for everybody as well too. And of course, check out Rad Toys, Galaxy, Wentzilla, Deadman, all the crew. The best to find a lot of those guys on Instagram, but I'll leave some YouTube channel links as well too, because they're doing great work. You got to check out what they're doing. And for me personally, it's kind of inspirational to see these guys doing amazing stuff, and me just kind of like amateurly kind of Kool-Aid man through a wall and wanting to get involved in this kind of setting. So, but appreciate it once again. Hope you take care, and we'll see you real soon. Make sure to check out for any more content, whether Let's Set the Tone here in the next couple weeks, A World According to Tone, or Banter and Babble, proper podcasts, or any content that dude might be putting out game-wise as well too over the next few weeks and months here. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon.